Hey everyone, this is Cabello with Hard Lens Media, and I think we all are kind of really getting tired of this election cycle. I mean, that debate that happened between Biden and Trump is clearly now more than ever we have to walk away from the two-party system. I think now more than ever we need to have different voices running for office. And while everyone's tired of about the debate and back and forth between Biden and Trump, I just want to remind everyone that there are other elections that are happening, be they at the state level or at the federal level. And joining us here as an independent candidate is Kenneth Cody, who is running in the state of New Jersey for Congress. Kenneth, thank you so much for joining us. I think it's very important for our viewers and subscribers to understand who you are. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the congressional district that you are running for in the state of New Jersey.
Well, yes, Kid. Thanks for having me here today. I'm running for as an independent candidate for New Jersey's 12th Congressional District as the independent candidate. It has 4 counties, Mercer, Middlesex, Union, and Somerset. And I've run before. In 2010 was my first time I ran. And many people are fed up with the two-party system. So I would like to have more options, and hopefully that's the option people will vote for on November 3rd.
So, what I find interesting is that you actually were nominated via petition by some of your fellow constituents. Can you explain it to our viewers and subscribers about what really went down with that process? Because normally a lot of people either vote Democrat or Republican, and when it comes down to independent candidates that are not affiliated with either the Greens or Libertarians, what was the process like that in New Jersey? Can you explain a little bit about that?
With that, I had to get 100 signatures to make the ballot. So you have to get signatures in your district. They have to be registered voters too. So you go around. This time was very difficult with actually, 100 signatures doesn't sound like a lot, but with COVID-19, you had to do everything like virtually. So you had to go through social media, ask if people would like to sign the petition. So we got the 131 signatures and presented it to the Division of Elections, and we got our name on the ballot.
All right. So now, when we look at the congressional district, at least the 12th congressional district in the state of New Jersey, who is the current incumbent? And clearly, what a lot of people want to know is what is happening in that district, and who are some of the corporate interests that are backing both the incumbent as well as the challenger of the two-party system?
Right. So the two parts, well, basically, the incumbent is Bonnie Watson Coleman. She's a Democrat. She's been in office since 2014, and she is up against a Republican called Mark Rizzoli, and he's also there too. And there's another independent candidate besides myself running as well.
Okay. So when it comes down to any kind of debates or being on the ballot, has anything been organized in regards for there being any kind of online debates? It's quite clear that COVID-19 is clearly playing a huge role in prohibiting debates or any kind of town halls. Has anything been set up in regards towards you debating with the other two candidates?
Nothing's been talked about. There's been no debate set up. Unfortunately, it's hard. You want to get your voice heard and get it mentioned out there. And if you make the ballot, you should be able to debate someone, whether it's in person or virtually. Especially now, virtually would be, of course, the way to go. But at this point, what we do in my campaign, we try to do everything by social media, get our message out, and get our message to the voters that way.
Right. So now let's actually talk about policy, because I think it's very important to separate yourself from the other two-party candidates who are clearly running in this race. Let's talk about the one issue that a lot of Americans are really been kept on supporting, and that is Medicare for all. Where do you stand on that policy, and how do you think it should be implemented as we go past this 2020 election cycle?
Well, like Bernie said during the campaign, Medicare for all is a right, not a privilege. And especially now with COVID-19, people getting sick, losing their jobs because of COVID-19. What we need would be that coverage. So if you lost your job, you'd still be covered. You can go to the hospital. You wouldn't lose that coverage as through your employer because you lost your job there. But it's very important to have it because we have over 200,000 Americans died from this. If we had this in place, I believe there'd be fewer deaths. We would have more facilities, more doctors, more hospitals to take care of the sick.
All right. So now I also want to address another one of your policies, and that's ending regime change wars. Now, there was another candidate, presidential candidate, that was running on this policy, and that was Representative Tulsi Gabbard from the state of Hawaii. Now, of course, she is going to be leaving Congress. Why are you making this an important issue? Why are you running on the policy of ending regime change wars? What have you seen firsthand in regards towards what both the two-party system is doing in regards towards continuing these conflicts overseas?
Right. It seems like, at least in the presidential area, they're not talking about it. You saw the debate yesterday. Nothing was mentioned about the war going on in Afghanistan. You know, like Tulsi said during her campaign, we're spending $4 billion a month just in Afghanistan. We've lost over 2,000 soldiers, and 20,000 soldiers have been wounded. Lives have been affected. People have been killed. It's time to bring our soldiers home, you know, and put that money towards, like Tulsi said also, allocate that money towards programs like Medicare for all, you know, instead of spending $4 billion on a war that has no end.
And now, and also, it's important for us to bring up the fact that, like, a lot of our congressional representatives, they do take corporate donations from the military-industrial complex, as well as numerous other lobby groups. Where do you stand with, you know, your campaign? Do you take corporate donations, or are you a grassroots organizer?
My campaign's grassroots. I've never accepted any contributions or political action committee money.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is we need to get big money out of politics, and it's ruining elections. There was a election 2 years ago, just for a congressional seat in New Jersey, where the candidate raised over $8 million. And you know, it's only you're working at Congress for 2 years. Half the time you're not talking about the issues. You're raising money, and so that's what we have to work on the policy to get money out of politics. I would say what you would do is set limits from every level, from the local level up to the presidency. Mm-hmm. You can't go past a certain amount of money that you receive. And my campaign, as what I want to do, is show Washington that you can win an election without spending money, and you shouldn't have to ask for any money from the special interest. So I accept no money. I want everyone to spread, you know, the message about my campaign. That's how that could help me get elected.
All right, and now there's another policy that's also standing out. It's called the 4 for 40 Family Plan. And of course, on your campaign website, you talk about how time is valuable, quality time with your family and friends is too. That is why I would like to introduce the 4 for 40 Family Plan. When elected, I would sponsor a bill that would give the option for most employees to work 40 hours in 4 days. Could you explain this policy, and how would you implement it, and also use the bully pulpit to really inspire others to support this bill? Can you explain it?
Right. So basically, I think family time is very critical. You know, you work 5 days a week, and some people work even more hours. You work over 40 hours, maybe even 50 or 60 hours a week. What I would propose is let's cut it down to 4 days a week, and then you have your choice. I would have like whatever days you'd like to have off, but make it a 4-day weekend. So you could work 40 hours any time frame in those 4 days. So you have to, you know, of course, you have to set it up with the employers. But I think time is valuable with people, and I think we need to spend it with more family time, and that's something I'd fight for in Congress, you know. And also too, it would save if you're going like if you went to work, you would cut down on car emissions, 1 full day of people off the roads. So it's a winning situation, I think.
Okay. Now, there's also another issue that should be brought up, and that is universal basic income. Both Andrew Yang and later on Representative Tulsi Gabbard were the only 2 presidential candidates to really talk about universal basic income. And seeing as how this current economy is running right now, we're seeing more and more Americans get on unemployment. Places are being shut down. People are wondering how they're going to pay their rent or their mortgage. Are you in favor of universal basic income?
I believe in it because, you know, I saw a statistic the other day by Forbes magazine, and they said over almost 80% of people live paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. And so if you got $1,000 per month, it would help with bills. It would help if you're unemployed. Mm-hmm. It's a good system to get you off your feet. It's for the people, the plan, and that's what progressive ideas are. They're for the people, to help people, and UBI is part of that.
Now, as an independent, though, you will be outnumbered potentially if you win
Right.
your election. You'll be outnumbered by both Democrats and Republicans. How are you going to stand out towards your colleagues, and really, what are you going to do to really make yourself really spread the message for third-party
Right.
candidates and independents? What are you going to do different than the other two parties that are currently in Congress?
Right. So what I would want to do is work with them on my policies, and just send a message that we could work together. And that's one of the reasons why I started running for Congress. Try to get Republicans and Democrats to work with all political parties. It's difficult, but it can be done. And I think the message is we need to help people. And that's what I would plan to do in Congress. And I think if you have all political parties working for that goal, and that's what you get elected for, to serve the people. And that's what people, main parties forget sometimes about that. And I think it'd be best served then as we would work together, as all together as one for our nation.
Okay. Now, we've seen firsthand where independent candidates or progressive candidates that are running in the Democratic Party or third-party candidates, there's been a lot of media censorship, or more importantly, the media is choosing to ignore anyone that's outside of the two-party establishment. So
Right.
when it came down to your campaign, what was basically the reaction towards your campaign by the media in the state of New Jersey? Has anyone really been following your campaign, and has there been any kind of censorship or people kind of ignoring your message?
Well, it's been hard actually with that. So getting on the ballot is not as hard, but after that, that's when you have to try to get yourself noticed. So I've written articles for local newspapers, and unfortunately, they haven't been printed even. So you don't know the reason why even. So you hope it's, I don't know. I think you probably want to find it interesting that someone's running for office. They would publish an article for for the election. But yeah, it's tough because you don't get invited to debates often, and you just have to get your message out through social media at this point, especially with COVID-19.
Right. And going forward, especially as we go into the 2022 election cycle, what do you think the role will be for third-party candidates? Because it's quite clear that a lot of Americans are not identifying themselves as Democrat or Republican, but there really isn't an option or a party for a lot of Americans to go to. Now, to some extent, there are the Greens and Libertarians, but even they have to deal with, state and federal regulations that prevent them from being on the ballot. And right now, we are seeing the Movement for People's Party. What do you think the real pathway forward for third parties that they'll have to take so that more Americans and even the media will be able to take them seriously?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, that even the Green Party are not on the ballot in all 50 states, and unfortunately for that, I like what the People's Party movement has started. I hope we can continue that. I think you get more people involved. I really think a lot of people would like to have a prominent third party. You have all the other countries around the world. There's plenty of political parties besides the duopoly that we have here. So I think it's word of mouth. I think the message has to be spread. We have to do it from a grassroots organization. I think it has to start from the lowest levels, and you need to have the third party breakthrough that way. Hopefully it can be done. I think a lot of people would be on board with it. And I think the end goal is to have more choices for the voter.
And I also want to just mention, too, that you are wearing the Unusual American T-shirt, which was
Right.
Branded by Tulsi Gabbard in her campaign. So I think a lot of our viewers might be asking you, were you a Tulsi Gabbard supporter? And if so, what was it about her campaign that really made you support her during the election or during the
Well, yeah,
primaries?
definitely. I remember first seeing her on CNN. She did a town hall. And in fact, unfortunately, that was the only town hall she got invited to during the election cycle. And I heard her policies, and she talked about, again, ending wars. And that was it hit a nerve with me because I think that's important. I mean, all the money that's wasted and lives lost and more, it can't, it's just what we could do with that money. And we should be only in a war then if we have to be in one, if there's no other option. But her message about that really struck a chord with me, and then I started following her campaign from that point. And then, unfortunately, what happened, the media blacked her out pretty much. And then she was invited to debates also, and that got me more involved with her campaign. And unfortunately, she couldn't get the nomination. But hopefully, in years to come, she'd consider running again for president.
All right. And then as a final note for our viewers and subscribers, if they want to learn more about your campaign, or if there's going to be any kind of town halls or live streams that you'll be hosting, where can people find you online and on social media?
Right. So the best place to find me, I'm on Twitter at Cody for Congress NJ, the number 4. I'm on the YouTube. It's Cody for Congress NJ, and then best to find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Cody for Congress. So it's all right there on the background there. But yeah, and also you can Google me at Ken Cody for Congress, and then you'll find all the links, and my webpage as well will be there as well.
All right, Kenneth J. Cody, thank you so much for joining us. You're running in the state of New Jersey for the 12th Congressional District. All the best to you, and I think now more than ever, we need to have independent voices in the Congress, but also at the state level as well, because we need to fight for a better future, and we need to break away from the two-party system. Thank you again for joining us. Peace to you guys, and let us all do what we can to build a better future.